I am so excited. Like even more so than normal. I am so excited about this because I'm going to teach you something that is so simple to do, but it changes the whole perspective on weight loss. Literally, if you do this, like this one thing that I'm going to teach you, I dare I say, it's going to change your life and honestly how you process stress. So I'm going to jump into scripture because we're basing this concept and this context on Psalm 46:10. Psalm 46:10. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. This is going to seem very simplistic. But by the time you answer some of these questions, this might be one of the most epic concepts you've ever heard in today's culture. You guys know me. You know I'm a huge fan. You guys absolutely know I'm a huge fan of time management. But I want to take it one step further, and I want to talk to you about attention management for a moment. I want you to think about the concepts of how many things at any given time are demanding, not just asking for, but demanding your attention. And how often, when that occurs, are we still? How often are we genuinely still when we start to feel stress and anxiety take over? I want you to genuinely think about that. How often is your phone, and in fact, how often is a screen in another room? How often are you genuinely still with literally nothing distracting you? How often are you still when stress occurs? Deeper question to that. When stress does start to occur, how often are you seeking God first in that stressful situation? And I want you to really think about something recently in your life where this has occurred. Good news for me, I have children, so I can just think about 10 minutes ago. My fault, 15 minutes ago. We were talking 10 minutes ago. But the glory of for me, and I would wager in your life as well, very few people go from zero to stressed like that. For many of us, it's a layer, and then it's a layer, then it's a layer, then it's a layer, and then all of a sudden we've had enough, and we just can't deal with it no more, and we need to react. And in that process, how often do you genuinely seek God first when that first twinge happens or that second twinge happens? One thing else I want you to think about, how often when stress occurs, do we react before we think about what we're actually doing? For real. Like how many times have we done something out of a stress reaction and then 5 minutes, 2 hours later, we go, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Has it ever happened in your life? More importantly, because we're all human, I know it has. When was the last time that happened? Think about that. How often do we react before we actually think about what we're doing? The concept that I want to bring forth today in terms of practical application based on Psalm 46:10 is being mindful and being present. And I know there's a lot of buzzwords about this, like mindful eating and mindful exercise. And I want to be present. And much like the word thrive, it's been hijacked. It's been very popularized, and that's okay. Things are popular for a reason, but far too often, these buzzwords get hijacked and we don't actually know what they mean. Like, what does it mean to be mindful? What is mindful eating? What does it mean to be present? We don't even know. We know what it means, but we don't know what that person is using it for. That's what we're going to talk about. That's what all this is centered. That's what all this is building to. Be still and know that I am God. Be mindful and be present. and then be still. For what reason? To know that we've got a God who is absolutely working on our behalf for the greater good. When I talk about the exercise that we're going to do here in a few minutes, I want you to think about this. This is a concept that has been popularized with the spread of COVID. So you may have seen it before, this whole match theory. But it's something that I've talked about for a while. And to me, it's been a great visual, just a really great point to bring this to life. Because if you look at this and you think about these charred matches, this is the ramp up to where stress boils over. So if we're going from left to right and we see like one stressor, two stressor, three stressor, well, what happens if you light an entire matchbook? Wow, fireworks. Typically, you don't want those kind of fireworks. And the visualization that I love here is that you just take one decision and you take that match out. And all of a sudden, that fire keg that is ready to explode does what? It fizzles out. And what could have been an absolute catastrophe leaves you with a couple of charred matches, but you still got half the book left to do whatever you want with it. And fire can be as destructive as it can be life-saving. And so it's with this image in mind that I really want you to consider what I'm going to discuss. Because the whole concept is we want to take a moment to stop the negative momentum of the emotions. And by taking a moment to stop and just consider what could happen if I stop, and asking the question, will I get what I really want out of letting this stress go? How will that end? Just being mindful for a moment to ask that question can stop so many things. And so it's like, wow, Jeremy, this is very theoretical. Great. How do we do that? It's with a concept called FourSided breathing. So we're going to talk about FourSided breathing as a way to be mindful and present. And if you've ever done anything in terms of anxiety work or stress relief work or anger work, this might seem familiar. So for some individuals, this might be a recap, which is awesome. Some of you might be thinking, Rochford, first off, your shirt looks like candy corn. Second off, are you getting new agey on me? First off, no, Thanksgiving, always giving thanks, even in the new year. Second, it's not new agey. It's something that my children have learned from Daniel the tiger and has been passed on for generations. So what is FourSided breathing? It is simply an exercise wherein that you envision a square and you breathe in for 4 seconds and out for 4 seconds and in for 4 seconds and out for 4 seconds, visualizing yourself as though you were making a square. Now, regardless of the Thanksgiving themed shirt in a non-Thanksgiving setting, it is not new agey. It is literally taking a moment and regaining that control, or dare I say, being deliberate to enact upon Psalm 46:10, in which we have the opportunity to be still, and then what? Know that God is God. Why does this matter? This matters because far too often we don't get to know that God is God because we sacrifice being still. And before you know it, we haven't even thought or considered maybe we can take a moment and that match never gets pulled out. So what happens? We burn it down. And that looks different for a lot of us. Some of us burn it down with amounts of food. Some of us burn it down with types of food. Some of us burn it down with negativity. Whatever your coping mechanism is, if you consider FourSided breathing with the lens of the gospel as a direct action on how to enact Psalm 46:10, to me, this has been life-changing. Because to me, this has allowed me to take a step back and really ask what's going on here. This mindset has allowed me to stop so many negative situations that could have turned into catastrophe. I want to be very clear on this. I'm not telling you life is going to be perfect. You will never get angry. You will never get stressful. No, life is going to happen. However, while we cannot choose what happens to us, we can every single time choose how we react to this. And so by taking that moment and thinking, do I really want this to end in the way that it could, that it's going? Am I truly hungry, or am I eating for some other reason? And what is actually going on here? Why am I reacting this way? If you take a moment and you enact the four-sided breathing exercise to just go, all of a sudden, you've stopped. You've stopped the momentum, you've stopped the cycle, and you've given yourself the opportunity to make the conscious decision of asking these questions. Is this how I really want this to end? It's your choice. You can't choose what happens to you, but you can choose how you react to it. You can't choose how the story started, but you can always choose to write a new chapter. And quite often when it comes to eating, we don't do it because we're hungry. We do it because we're bored, or because we're emotional, or because we're frustrated, or insert any reason other than the God-given design for it. But by taking this moment, you give yourself the gift of actually asking yourself, what is going on here? Hold on. I'm an adult. I can change this story anytime I want. And perhaps, it even gives us the greatest gift of all, of asking, have I brought God into this? Because here's a secret that's not a secret. And I am sorry if this offends anyone, but I will say it to me, and if it happens to apply to you, that's cool. So this isn't even being said to you. This is saying as me as a reminder. We are not strong enough on our own to lose weight because we are human. We don't have enough willpower, and we never will. We can work at it all we want, but at the end of the day, we're going to be human. And you know what, though? If that wasn't the case, good news. We wouldn't need salvation. But every single person here, I believe, acknowledges that they're not going to get into heaven on their own merit. They need a savior. Well, if that's true for eternity, it's true for a lot of the situations we face. And far too often, and I've yet to see it, but I never say never. I've yet to see a situation where someone went straight to God with their problems, and then God didn't show up. It may look different than we ever thought. We may be doing it with our bias of going to God and expecting answers on our terms, not his. That is a challenge. But in my life and in my experience, the times we go off the deep end, the times we aren't present, the times we aren't mindful, the times we get overwhelmed, and the times we just implode are the times where we have pushed God away. And we've relied on our own strength, which can get us so far, but it won't get us to the end. And that's what we're all looking for, is to not just lose weight, but to genuinely keep it off forever, which is possible, which not only have I proven, but other people have proven. And a lot of you are learning that. A lot of you, and going back to something Stephanie said earlier, like, and she shared this, so I don't feel uncomfortable sharing this. Like, we've talked about how some of the strategies we've talked about are actually doable. And they are less crazy than things she's tried before and more sustainable. And because of that, she feels she can actually do them for the rest of her life. That's freedom. She's experiencing it. She's experiencing it through how she frames the word cheat. She's experiencing it through the way she frames the word calories. She's experiencing freedom. A lot of us are experiencing freedom. I can call everyone out of you by name and talk about the great things that you have shared with me. And I would wager that a big reason why is because we've brought God into it at some situation to carry us when we were weak. So that is going to be my challenge to you. That is going to be my implorement, if that's even a word. It'll be a word. If we're going to have Q&A, you can question me, is that a word? And I'll say I don't know. But it's going to be my challenge to you is take the time this week to be still, to put the screen down, to get into a different place, to just breathe and be. Feel the presence of God. Don't push it away. Don't get so busy that you box God out of not just a relationship with food that he's looking to have, but a relationship with you that he's looking to have. The easiest way to do that is to be aware of his presence. And the best way to do that is to be still and know that he's there. And not only is he there, but he's God.